Hello everyone, my name is Jay, and thank you for tuning in to my tutorial. If you're clicking this video, it is because you have purchased an avatar base, and you have got a custom retexture for it, and you do not know how to apply that retexture or upload the avatar, and I am here to help you with that. Now, I don't want to make this tutorial one of those where the guy just loves the sound of his own voice, so he just talks on and on and on, and oh my god, for so long. So we're just going to dive right on into it, okay? I'm going to break this tutorial down into two simple stages, the prep and the actual setup. And we're going to go into detail regarding what you need to do to make sure you are properly prepared and what you have to do to get the upload done correctly. So starting with step one, I'm going to safely assume you've probably already purchased whatever base avatar you want to use. For the sake of this tutorial, we're going to go with the free count for the purposes of this tutorial done by Ghost Cabot, a wonderful avatar creator. Now, assuming you have already purchased the avatar base, you're going to need to download the different assets that will be used for the upload. In this case, they've included all of them in a single zip file, but you may get an avatar where they're all broken down into SPPs, into PDFs, into Photoshop files and Unity packages, whatever. Assuming you have hired already someone else to do the retexture for you, you probably don't need to worry about any of the retexture files. You just want to make sure you have downloaded, at the very least, the Unity package. It is possible you may purchase an avatar that's a little bit more laid out like this with multiple sections. Again, if needed, what you are looking for is simply the Unity package in most cases, which you might find under the version that this is labeled under. Unity package will be shown right beneath the title of the one. You can download the most recent version, or if you want to, for whatever reason, you can look for older versions as well. Most avatar creators will lay this out for you. And again, you really only need to look into the texturing files if the person who is doing the retexture for you needs those files in order to do the retexture itself. Another thing you will need to download is the shader used to create the avatar. Most avatar creators will tell you in the listing for their base exactly which shader you need. However, if they do not do this, or you are not sure what shader the model needs, Poyomi is usually a safe bet. Most avatars in VRChat do use the most recent version of Poyomi Tune. In this case, the FreeCown model uses the Mochi's Unity shader, but I have downloaded Poyomi Tune anyway, just to make sure that it is there as a backup. If you are wondering if you have correctly downloaded the Unity package for your base model, the symbol on your download folder should look something like this. And when you hover over it, it will say that the type is a Unity package. Now, it might vary depending on who you receive the retexture commission from, but whenever you do commission a retexture, you will be sent the actual image files that apply the painting to the model. Generally speaking, you will receive a collection of images that looks something like this, a sort of flattened out version of your model and all the colorations on it, and a few of these kind of purplish, weird blue looking squares. You may not need all of them, but it's not a bad idea to download all of them in case you do. I personally send these directly if I can, either as a zipped up file or just directly in DMs. Other avatar retexture artists might do it differently. I can't speak for them, but generally speaking, when you get these pictures, just download them and put them somewhere that you can find them later. Now, once you have all of the images for your retexture in your folder, as well as the Unity package for the base model and the necessary shaders, you can start to look into getting Unity. The most helpful tool you can get for yourself as a start is the VRChat Creator Companion. If you go to the VRChat website, or even just to Google and look up VRChat Creator Companion, you can download this tool, which will help you with setting up projects in Unity without having to do it directly on the Unity interface. Now, even though VRChat Creator Companion does handle a lot of the Unity setup for you, I do heavily recommend installing the most recent version of the Unity Hub directly from the Unity website. This helps with managing your individual Unity projects, as well as the different versions of Unity you will want installed to work on projects in the future. Now, there are two versions of Unity that are used to upload VRChat avatars. It used to be the only one that would work is 2019.4.31 F1. However, VRChat has since then updated, and the most recent version of Unity that you can use to upload VRChat avatars is 2022.3.6F1. It is recommended to have both just because there are some avatar creators who have not updated their avatars to be compatible with 2022's version, and in those rare cases you will need the 2019 version. However, the majority of modern day VRChat avatar bases are compatible and require the 2022 to work properly. If you want to make sure you can work on any avatar, recommend downloading both. Otherwise, bare minimum, get the 2022 version and you'll be good from there. If you are uncertain if an avatar is compatible with either version, most avatar creators will mention in their listing which version is required to do the upload. Now, once you have Unity and Creator Companion installed alongside the Unity package for the base model, the shaders, and the pictures for the retexture, you are all ready to go to start your project. Now, VRChat Creator Companion makes beginning a project nice and simple. All you really have to do is click the Create New Project button up in the top, select the version of Unity that you are using. Again, in most cases, you'll be doing 2022 Avatar Project. Very rarely will you need to do a 2019 Avatar project, and the world projects are for if you're making an avatar world, which if that's what you're doing, you're on the wrong video. I know nothing about that. Now, since this is a brand new project, I have yet to upload the free count version of me. You would do Unity 2022 Avatar Project. Now, you're going to want to pick a name for your file that will be easy to extinguish later on when you need to refer to it. I will name my project FreeCountJ. Pick the project location wherever you like to store your different avatar, VRChat related stuff. In this case, I have it in the right place. And when it's ready to go, create project. Now, the biggest reason that VRChat Creator Companion is helpful is that it automatically imports things you would need to import yourself if you were doing a manual project. Mainly, the VRChat SDK. This is an important and vital package that must be in Unity project for your project to actually be able to be uploaded to VRChat. If you did not have Creator Companion, you would have to add all these things in manually, which can be a bit of a pain in the neck. Thankfully, this makes it nice and easy because it creates a project that is ready to go right off the bat. You will notice that these top 3 are automatically selected. All of these additional things are extra tools you can choose to add in should you want to. They may not make sense to you if you haven't worked with VRChat. I always recommend adding in at least Avatars 3.0 Manager and Gesture Manager, as those are very helpful for setting up new assets and testing them out in Unity without having to get into VRChat to do that. So to add tools, you can just hit a plus next to the tool itself. But again, you do not have to add these ones. These are optional ones that I like to include on my projects. Once you have added every tool that you want to add in and confirm that you have the right Unity version, you just click Open Project and wait for the machine to do its job. It is worth noting that Unity does often take a while to compile and put together everything that you need. Do not panic if it takes some time. Just be patient and wait for it to do its work. Once VRChat Creator Companion finishes compiling all the information to create a Unity project, you'll be given something that looks pretty basic and empty like this. I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough as to the important sections you need to know. Over here in the top left is your hierarchy. This is essentially where your actual model is going to sit, as well as all the additional add-ons and the bones used to connect the avatar to any things that you add on to it. You don't need to worry too much about bones and armature stuff for the sake of uploading. That comes later when you want to start adding clothing and extra tools to your avatar. This tutorial is not covering that. Down below, you have your project files and your assets folder. This is where you're going to actually find all of the different files that you are applying to your avatar in the hierarchy. And over here, you have your inspector, which while it shows blank now, is where you edit all of the technical details for your model and your shaders. This is where you're going to be doing a lot of the tweaking. Next to the inspector is also a tab marked VRChat SDK. This is what you use to actually upload an avatar once all the work is complete. You won't need to go to this until towards the end, but this is important to know that it is here. Also important to note that your very first time on a project working on something, it will ask you to sign in. So you'll need to put in your email or your username and your password. Okay, now that we are here and on the blank project page, we can begin to import the assets we need to use to upload our avatar. First thing I recommend starting with is the shaders, because if you import the avatar before the shaders, it might have a slight error of not being able to actually render the avatar's coloration patterns due to not detecting the shaders. So first and foremost, find the shaders that go to your model and import them into the project. I am importing both Mochi's Unity shader, which is the Freecloud standard, and the Poyomi just as a backup in case we decide that we need to use it. So as you can see, they already show up in my assets folder. I already have Mochi shaders and Poyomi shaders here. So anytime you're importing a Unity package, you just have to drag it and drop it into the project. It will tell you everything it's importing, and you just click import. Do not be concerned if it takes a while to import something. Bigger Unity packages, especially avatars and shaders, do sometimes take a while, so just wait patiently and let it do its thing. Okay, now that you have the shaders and the base model all added into the project, you can now add the images for the retexture. Now, if you want to make it easy on yourself, you can create a whole folder specifically for the avatar. I'm not a very organized person, so I don't always do this, but it is not hard to simply right-click in the main assets, click on Create, Folder, and then you can name the folder Textures or your own name or whatever you want just to make it easy to find, and go right into that folder. Just like with the Unity package, very easy to import the textures. Simply click on all of them. You can control and click each one individually if you want to, just to make sure you know which ones you're importing. And like with the Unity package, drag and drop them into the file. Sometimes Unity is a little bit of an asshole and doesn't let you drop files in. If that's the case, you can just manually click right-click, import new asset, and find your assets in the folder. All right, we now have the model, the shaders, and the textures imported into the project. Let's start putting it together. When you are ready to start work on the model, you will go into the folder for avatars and for the specific base that you have, and find something that generally looks like this. It is a prefab. Sometimes avatar creators include a couple different versions of the prefab, maybe different colors or different shapes or different add-ons. Choose whichever one is either the most basic or whichever one is the one that you want to work with, and you're going to click and drag it up into the hierarchy. And look at that, our little buddy appeared on the screen for us. From here, what you're going to want to make sure you do is right-click on the actual avatar in the scene, in the hierarchy, right-click it, and unpack the prefab completely. This will allow you to work on it on individual layers. Some avatars do include stuff you don't really need, such as additional light or like an instruction panel. Very easy to just toggle those off so you don't have to worry about having them if you do not want them in your scene. Essentially, to toggle something off, you just click it on the hierarchy and then click the little checkbox right here, which just tells that thing to not exist anymore. All right, with your avatar loaded into your hierarchy, you are going to click the arrow, which will open up the different layers of the avatar. Click on body, and you will notice that that brings up a few things over here in the inspector. Blend shapes are important. A lot of people like to change the shape of their avatar. Some avatar creators allow you to make your avatar fatter, thinner, taller, add breasts, remove breasts, make the tail bigger, make the feet smaller, whatever. Those are all edited here in the blend shapes. So you can kind of fiddle with those. You may not want to touch some of them because a lot of them are automatically changed in game. But some things such as hide chest fluff or flatten legs are things you can kind of tinker with if you want to get the avatar shape the way you want to. I recommend not playing with these until you've uploaded it just once, because a lot of avatars do include the option to change that in game. So it's a good idea to know what you need to change here and what you need to change in game. Now, to apply a retexture, you're going to go down here where the avatar has different materials. Now, materials are the backbone in changing the coloration and patterns and appearance of an avatar. Materials will kind of look like this. This icon here is a material. It's got sort of the shape of a ball and a stretched out version of the texture applied to it. Materials are the tools in which you are going to add on the shaders and the retextures. To access the materials details, you can either go to the body of your model in the hierarchy, and the materials will be down here at the bottom in the inspector, or If you find the materials in your assets folder, you can click on them individually and bring them up here as well. Now, a materials menu or overlay in the inspector is going to look different depending on the shader that you select. For example, the Mochi shader, the one used by the free count as standard, looks like this. This is the layout of its menu. If I change the shader to Poyomi, it's going to look a little bit more like this, which is a little bit longer and has more details. Each shader generally gets you a slightly different look. Mochi goes for a bit more toony. Poyomi can be used to add a little bit of realism. Standard, which is a very basic shader, is going to kind of get a realistic lighting effect with not a lot of well-lit variation to it. I am going to stick with Mochi since that is the one given by the free count creator. Now, what you're going to want to find is where the base color for this material is assigned. For example, on Mochi, we can see the base color here has a little tiny picture in box where you can see the coloration that is on the default free count. To change this texture, it is extremely simple. All you have to do, find the new one you want, click, drag it in, release. And look at that, it already looks a little bit like me. Now, if the retexture that you get has additional layers to it, i.e. it looks a little bumpy or it looks a little metallic or it has some parts that look more elevated than others or there's a fur texture to it, you generally need to add some of these other things to the shader as well. In this case, Mochi hides that under this textures folder. Usually the main one you're going to use is a normal. So you'll want to look for these and find out which one is labeled normal. We're working on the body, not the eyes or the fluff, so I'm going to look for body normal rather than eyes normal. Quick note, if you want to make sure that you are not losing this inspector page when you click on some of these to see what they are labeled, you can click this lock icon there so that you can click these without it changing what the inspector is focused on. Now, to add the correct fur pattern, we're going to want to change the normal here. So we look for the one that is the body normal because this is the body material, and we bring that normal and drop it right there. It will always ask you to mark it as a normal map. You can fix this by clicking Fix Now, and you can see the body is starting to turn out correctly. Now, this one includes a roughness. I did not import a roughness file. If you want your avatar retexture commission artist to include a roughness or a metallic or an occlusion or a height or an emission, you'll want to talk to them to make sure they know which files to send you. Because when you are creating a retexture, there's so many possible layers to send. Most likely, in most cases, you only need the base color and the normal. I'm going to delete the roughness here because, in truth, I don't really need it. Now, since I am done with the body, I'm going to go and also add the retextures for the eyes and the fluff bits. Most avatar creators do break down their base models into different sections, so you'll have to apply a different material to the body as you will the fluff, the eyes, sometimes the tail is separate. It's done differently for every creator. So now I open up the shader for the eyes. I go to my textures and I bring in my eyes. Okay, so I'm experiencing a slight issue here where for whatever reason, the eyes under the Mochi shader are not showing up. I've never worked with the Mochi shader before and I don't know how to fix that. So for my sake, I'm going to actually change this shader to Poyomi because you will notice it immediately fixes the issue and the eyes are visible. You don't normally need to change the shader, but in this case, we're going to do so that I can make sure it works. And then of course, just like we did with the body, we find the color and the normal, and we drag and drop that here. This says eyes normal, so we'll drop this one here and Fix Now. Final step, we have to come and do the same with the fluff bits. So let's open that, base color, drag and drop that one on, textures, the normal, drag and drop that one on, Fix Now. And then I personally don't need the roughness, so I will delete that. Perfect. With that done, you can see that my own custom textures have now been applied to the model. So with that all finished, I am ready to upload it. Now, if ever you want to do future work on this, you can always come back to it, add different hairstyles, change out the tail, change the colors a little bit, fiddle with the shaders to get the right shadowy effect that you're looking for it. Maybe you want it to have realistic lighting instead of toon lighting. That's something you'll want to figure out on your own time. This is purely how to apply the retexture and upload it. As of right now, this is ready to go. So since we have got the texture and upload all finished, we go back up to that VRChat SDK. Again, it will ask you to log in before you can do any uploads. Make sure you get that taken care of. When you are logged in, you can go to Builder and start the process for putting in the information. I will name this Freakhound J. You don't need to do a description, but you can if you want to. You will want to decide if you want this to be a public avatar, meaning anyone else can clone it and put it on, or a private avatar, meaning no one else can clone it and put it on. I usually recommend private because some avatar creators actually have it as a part of their TOS that you aren't allowed to make it public. Always double check the TOS when you are purchasing a base model to know what you are and are not allowed to do with the model. Next, the thumbnail. You can either click select new thumbnail and upload a photo of your own, or click capture from scene and kind of zoom into the face so that you know what your model looks like. Click capture, good to go. Down here, there's a bunch of information. It will tell you if there are errors or issues. Most errors or issues aren't necessarily going to break the project or stop the upload. It's just Unity jargon. The only ones you'll really need to worry about are the ones with the big stop sign and the exclamation mark, because those are actually stopping you from uploading. Most of them offer an auto fix button, where if you just click that button, Unity will fix the issue for you and you don't have to do any more work. Once all of this is done, you make sure that you check this mark, acknowledging all the information and that the provided above info is accurate and that you have the rights to upload, and you click build and publish. You might get a message that says this, just telling you that it needs to lock the materials that you have edited. That's fine. You click OK, you let it do its job. The avatar uploading process in particular takes a long time. Don't worry, just let it do its thing. All right, once Unity has had its chance to finish the upload, it will tell you upload has succeeded. And next time you log into VRChat, your avatar will be available to access. One thing I did forget to mention is keeping track of your avatar's blueprint. A blueprint ID is essentially a serial number that tells VRChat what avatar belongs to what upload. So when you go to the avatar in your inspector, in this case you wouldn't click body, you would just click the avatar itself, you will find a section that says blueprint ID. In most cases, this will be blank when you first start on a base model, but sometimes that ID is not removed when you get a new base model. If there is something here when you get a brand new project, you just need to click detach so that the ID is removed, and it will generate a new ID when you do a new upload. But for any future cases where you are editing this model and trying to change it, it will override the previous one if it is attached to the same blueprint ID. So always make sure you double check the blueprint ID and change it if need be. If you have any questions or if you run into any issues, I can't promise I know the answer because I myself am still kind of a novice with Unity, but this should at the very least help you apply a new texture and get your first avatar uploaded. I hope you find this helpful. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for new possible content coming out soon. Be safe, everyone. Bye!